From the case files of the Brass Lantern, case number 0. I first encountered the Brass Lantern in a forest just east of the Belgian-German border, having been tasked with delivering a list of Nazi spies to an agent codenamed Garcia. I found this Garcia as he was about to be cut down by a German infantry squad. His body was bathed in something more than moonlight. I had to turn my head as he seemed to explode into a miniature sun. I heard desperate gunfire, screams of agony, and the thunder of twin 45s as this Garcia picked off each of his attackers one by one. I remember being unable to stand for the longest time. Something about that light had disoriented me. And though I was no stranger to death, there was something terribly unsettling and final about each report of those 45s. By the time I had regained my senses, this man Garcia was standing over me. He seemed to be in the grip of madness.
Fire in his head, the sun and the moon his eyes, space his ears.
Are you the man called Garcia?
The wind his breath, the universe his heart.
You single-handedly killed all these men. What was that, some sort of grenade?
Verily, he is the inner self of all beings.
Damn it, man, I'm not a poet. I have a list of Nazi spies operating in America. I'm to deliver it to a man named Garcia. Are you Garcia?
Garcia? What? Oh dear, I can't.
Never mind, you old fool. I don't know what manner of luck enabled you to defeat that death squad, but I can't wait around for reinforcements to arrive. If you're not Garcia, I must press on.
Wait. What is it? What was it? Oh, yes. Thunder. That was the phrase. Thunder.
Welcome. The countersign is welcome. You are Garcia.
One of many names. I was born St. John Dare. Here I am Garcia. At home? At home. I am the Brass Lantern.
The Brass Lantern? You'll forgive me if I don't believe you.
You saw the light, did you not? Felt the awfulness of the power as it burned its way into your brain? The way it burns into mine?
My name is Staff Sergeant Matthew Arnold. When I began this mission, I had a squad of 11 men and one radio. Now I have neither. What I do have is this list. You knew the code. My mission is over.
Are you a good man, Matthew Arnold?
There are things I am good at.
But are you a good man, sir?
No. No, I'm convinced I'm a very bad man. But I try every day to be better than what I am.
Good. I am in need of a very bad man who is trying to be better.
I don't understand.
I shall be dead soon, you see.
So you were hit? Where? I have a medical kit.
Oh, I was hit many times. More times than my memory can possibly recall. During the course of this war, I have died and died again. And each time I have been reborn closer and closer to madness. This last one was one death too many.
The Brass Lantern is supposed to be immortal.
Oh, it is. At least, I have found no way to kill it. Its host, however, can die, and does die. In fact, must die.
Tell me, old man, was there ever a time when you made sense?
You are not a good man, Mr. Arnold. That's not even your name, is it? No, you're an impostor, a fraud.
How did you...
Your life before this war was a waste. War gave you a name. It gave you a mission. This war, Mr. Arnold, is about to end. Then what will you do?
I don't know. Go home, I suppose.
And what? Get a job? Work at a bank? No, Mr. Arnold. You needed this war. Once it ends, you will have no purpose, no more missions. just a slow, meaningless march towards death.
Whatever it is you're selling, you're lousy at it. What is that? It looks like a brass torch of some kind. It's glowing.
It is an ancient artifact, not of this world. No one knows where it came from, or when it came from, but it is the original lamp, Mr. Arnold, that held the genie in check.
Damn it, I don't have time for... What? That light! What's happening?
I must show you, Arnold. The brass lantern is immortal, but its host cannot be. The power corrupts. It eats away at the brain, destroys any traces of humanity. To become the brass lantern is to be condemned to death. It's a suicide, but one with a greater purpose than the selfishness of that act.
My head feels like it's on fire. I believe you. Turn it off, I believe you.
I have been the brass lantern for far too long. If you do not take it from me, I shall become the very monster I have sought to destroy.
How does one do that if it won't let you die?
Each brass lantern dies at the hand of his successor. If I die while holding the stone, rather than regenerating, the creature's life force is imprisoned within.
And how is it freed once more?
If you hold the stone as you die, the life force will pass on to you. A suicide.
But why? Why do this? Why become something that will ultimately destroy you?
Because the power, for a time, can be used for good. You saw what happened to those Nazis. I have been doing that all over Europe since this bloody war began. I was to continue on, back home, with that list you carry. But I cannot. My time is done.
I don't want any part of this. It's madness. I'm just a soldier. I'm nothing special. You said it yourself, I'm a fraud. You don't know the man I was. The things I've done. I can't take that power. I will become a worse monster than you could imagine.
It is precisely because you do not want it that you must have it. And I fear you will need it. My daughter, Elaina.
Oh, what about her?
She was conceived, you see, after I became the brass lantern. I should have never, but I loved her mother, you see, so very much, and I was selfish.
So this daughter of yours, Elaina, she's like you.
I hope not, Mr. Arnold. But if what I fear comes to pass, if some aspect of this creature passed on to her, she may not be like me at all. She may become something far, far worse. Please, look after her. I beg you. The final request of a dying man.
Sinjin held the stone in his hands. I pressed my 45 to his head. It was madness. I had killed men before, but this was murder. And if he was telling the truth, it was to be my suicide. Call me a coward, but my survival instinct was too high. I pulled the trigger, and I killed him, but I did not have it in me to kill myself. The look in Sinjin's eyes, it haunts me to this day. He knew I would betray him. But if this creature was so powerful, so corrupting, why not imprison it? Why not keep that genie locked inside the bottle where it could do no harm? Sinjin was right. The war did end. I needed a mission, and Beacon City needed a brass lantern.
lantern. His justice is not blind, it's blinding. A beacon of justice for the poor, the oppressed, and the uninsured. Evildoers don't fear the dark, they fear the light of the brass lantern. This adventure, Prelude to Perdition, takes place before the events depicted in Episode 1. All events and characters are fictitious. Any similarity to any actual person, living or dead, is purely coincidental.
Here you go, Mr. Arnold. 1 martini, straight up, no vermouth.
Please, Miss Masters, call me Matt.
Matthew, then. Matt is too harsh sounding. And you should call me...
Sabrina, is Max there with you?
No, Elaina. It's Matthew Arnold.
Mr. Arnold, I'm sorry Aunt Sabrina never said you were stopping by.
I'm afraid I came unannounced. I guess I'm still readjusting to polite society.
Matthew is offering the use of his estate for your charity auction.
Well, that's very kind of Mr. Arnold.
It's a worthy cause, contributing to Beacon City's emergency police fund for the uninsured.
Beacon City remains the only city in the country whose citizens have to purchase crime insurance for police protection. It also has the highest poverty rate of any U.S. city. A terrible combination.
Which is why, in addition to offering use of my estate, I have brought a check for $10,000 made out to you, Miss Dare. I trust you'll put it to good use.
10,000? That's a lot of insurance policies.
It's also a great deal of hope, Aunt Sabrina. Something the people of this city have lacked since the symbol of that hope disappeared during the war.
You mean the brass lantern?
You're not one of those claiming he was an urban legend. Are you, Mr. Arnold?
Please, call me Matt. And I know the brass lantern is real. He saved my life once.
You've seen him?
Yes. Yes, I am probably one of the few who have, since he blinds his victims.
Victims? Interesting choice of words. We are talking about criminals.
Yes, quite right. You must forgive me. Good and evil, right and wrong. In the moment when the passion takes you, it is easy to lose sight of these concepts.
Your drink is getting warm, Matthew. And a warm martini is a nasty thing.
Thank you, Sabrina, but I really must be going. I just want to drop off the check and to thank Miss Dare for her efforts on behalf of the people of the city.
That must be Max.
Max Benson? The actor?
Drama professor now. Sabrina is not a fan.
The question is, are you?
Now, what kind of question is that, Matt?
I'll leave that for you to decide, Elaina.
Are you always this evasive?
Are you always this direct?
Oh, for God's sake.
Aunt Sabrina, gorgeous as always. You and Elaina could be sisters.
Oh, how sweet. And there's not even a camera rolling.
Say, is that?
Matthew Arnold, from Luxarn.
And a bona fide war hero. Max Benson. Your reputation precedes you, sir. What was it the Nazis called you? Roosevelt's butcher?
Max.
No, you're right, Benson. That is what the Nazis called me. And they had every reason to.
No offense meant, I assure you. One of the great disappointments in my career was when I wanted to play you in the Matthew Arnold story. But I was under contract with Paramount.
For the best, I assure you. There is as much truth in that film as there is in your average pulp magazine.
Ah, but acting is the search for emotional truth, not actual truth.
Save it for the lecture, Professor. We have a production coming up, and the sets aren't going to design themselves. I do hope we talk again soon, Matthew.
Then I look forward to soon, Elaina. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some more business to conduct this evening. Good night to all of you.
Extra, extra! Beacon of Justice returns. German submarine fire bombed from the sky in Beacon Harbor. Suspected Nazi sympathizers found dead in dockside warehouse, executed brass lantern style. Warehouse packed with explosives and assault rifles. Extra, extra!
Did you hear that, Max? A German submarine. Here in Beacon? Nazis? Executed? Do you suppose
that the beacon of justice has returned? Any butcher with a gyrodyne and a .45 could have done it.
Yes, any butcher. I guess the war isn't over.
Hitler is dead, Elaina, but the Reich is an idea larger than any one man. And if the third failed, there could always a fourth.
You almost sound sympathetic.
Cruelty and barbarism is not a trait unique to Germans. Benson's my stage name. My parents were German immigrants, farmers, good hard-working people trying to start over in the land of opportunity. Till their barn was burned down one night after the Battle of Enzio, and a swastika painted on their front door with blood from a butchered cow.
Max, that's terrible. I didn't know.
War brings out the worst traits in us all, Elaina, the very worst. And hate owes allegiance to no flag. You'll excuse me now, my dear. I have a meeting to keep with our sponsors. Without them, all your work on our sets will be for naught.
You'll dazzle them, I'm sure. And I have an appointment to keep myself.
Yes, your charity auction. Don't get too close to that Arnold character.
Max Benson, are you jealous?
Concerned. He was a wealthy brat before he went to war. We all know what that hell turned him into. His charms are superficial, I assure you.
As an actor, you would know, Max.
The word person, Elaina, comes from the Latin word for mask. We all have one, but some of us become one.
Go wow the bean counters, Max. I've been handling the Matthew Arnolds of the world my whole life. Besides, I have a mask or two of my own.
To paraphrase Nietzsche, I have sought the face beneath those masks, and I will go on seeking.
Elaina, you're soaked. I could have sent a car.
I took a cab as far as your front gate, and it was open. I wanted to walk. I'm actually surprised you answered your own door.
Yes, well, to tell you the truth, I haven't used the main house much since the war. I've mainly just been living in the guest house.
This all does seem a bit much for one person. Rather empty.
That's why I'm counting on you to fill it, Elaina. As you can see, there's plenty of room for whatever you might need.
What about security? It is an auction, after all. Lots of valuables, lots of jewelry, cash, all in one conspicuous place.
A good friend of mine just made police detective. She's agreed to be in charge of security. And she's bringing a dozen armed off-duty police officers with her. You're as safe here as anywhere.
What about yourself?
My days of soldiering are over, Elaina.
My father said those same words to me once, when I was very young. Then the war came, and I never saw him again.
Elaina,
What? What is it, Matthew?
Your father, St. John.
Did you know him?
I met him in a forest just over the German border.
So, you know. He's dead. I mean, I know he's dead. The war is over. He never came home, but...
The brass lantern. The brass lantern has returned.
He never explained how it worked. But I knew there had been many brass lanterns over the years, each passing the power down to the next.
Hitler would have stopped at nothing to gain the power of the lantern. So your father operated under the codename Garcia. He waged his own war across Europe, saved thousands of lives.
How did he die? How could he die? He didn't share much about that part of himself. He could be cold. He could be cruel. But I always knew the city needed him.
And then the whole world did.
I tried not to be selfish. Tried to understand. Tried to do some good in his place.
The brass lantern is hard to kill, but no one is immortal. He used too much of his power. The war, it cost him dearly.
His life.
His daughter. Right before he died, he asked me to look after you.
So Max was right. It was all a deception. You used the auction as an excuse to spy on me.
Elaina, with your father gone, Beacon needs hope more than ever. You are giving it that hope. Not in the dark, but in the light.
Criminals fear the light. It's what my father always said.
The dark hides us, shelters us.
Us? Do you consider yourself a criminal, Matt?
Like I told you, I have been to a place beyond good and evil. I was in the dark for so long, it got inside of me.
You're not telling me everything.
No. And I never will.
You're shaking.
I'm fine.
You're not.
I'm sorry, Elaina. I'm not very good with people.
I should be mad at you, but I'm not.
I really do want to help, Elaina. Anything you need.
I suppose right now I need a cab.
I could drive you.
I'm not mad at you, Matthew, but I do need some time.
I'll summon a cab. Immediately then.
The brass lantern. He is back, isn't he?
No man could replace your father, Elaina.
No man should try. Good night, Matthew. I'll meet the cab at the gate.
Good night, Elaina.
Without further interruption, we now present the conclusion to our origin story, Prelude to Perdition.
Wonderful job, Elaina. Between this and the play, I don't know how you found the time and energy.
I like keeping busy, Sabrina. Boredom leads to poor decisions.
So, were you bored when you met Max Benson?
I know you don't like him, Sabrina, and he is a bit full of himself.
And if you loved him, I'd have seen it by now.
Who said anything about love? I don't have time for it. There's too much I want to do with my life. A man would hold me back.
The right man wouldn't.
And Matthew Arnold is the right man. Is that it?
I've seen the way you look at him.
How do I look at him?
Like you don't look at Max.
You are to be congratulated, Miss Dare. Quite a fine turnout.
Councilman Brinkerhoff, thank you so much for coming.
Wouldn't miss it. Besides, my wife would never forgive me if I didn't at least try to bid on one of those Tiffany lampshades.
Best of luck to you, Councilman.
Ah, there you are, Elaina. Go pretty as you can't hide in a crowd for long.
Call me a girl again, Max. I dare you. Where have you been, anyway? The auction is about to start.
Elaina, come with me, please.
Did you not hear what I said? The auction is about to start. Besides, I can't just leave Sabrina alone in a room full of eligible bachelors.
Elaina, please, just this once do as I ask.
Oh, what in tarnation?
Aunt Sabrina, are you okay?
Tell me this is part of some stage show.
For the fatherland! Kill everyone but the Dare Girl. She will lead us to the power of the brass lantern.
Oh no, Max. We've got to.
You're not going anywhere now, Fraulein. A traitor in the U.S. government revealed the identity of Agent Garcia to us. We know you are the Brass Lantern's daughter.
You monster! The play, everything, just a lie.
Actors are professional liars. They make the best spies. The Brass Lantern took out the submarine and managed to kill a handful of our men, but most escaped with enough explosives and weaponry to keep Beacon City occupied for weeks. Months! However long it takes to get the Lantern's power.
I told you he was no good.
Take the girl, Herr Benson. Use her as you wish as reward for your services. But keep her alive. If she does not have the torch that powers the brass lantern, then she will serve as bait for whoever does. Meanwhile, our soldiers will bomb bridges, rail systems, fire into crowded department stores, until the citizens of the city are begging for the brass lantern to turn himself in.
Now, Detective, put on the glasses I gave you.
Was ist das?
Now, while they're blinded, kill the Nazis.
You heard him, men. It's open season on goose-steppers. Let's finally finish this war.
Nein! Gah!
Can't see. Have to get clear.
Benson, you swine! Where are you? I'll kill you myself!
Got to feel through this crowd, away from the shooting. What's this? A staircase. Yes, this can hide upstairs. My sight is coming back. Everything's a blur, but I can see shapes. At last, I'm at the top of the stairs. If I can just find an empty room.
It's over, Benson.
Who? What are you?
Has your vision returned, Benson? I want you to see your death coming.
Arnold!
You act surprised.
I suspected. You were charged with carrying the list to Garcia.
And your name was on that list. Yours and every other would-be saboteur in the States. I've spent the past months tracking each man on that list down and eliminating them. One of them gave up the plans to use Elena's auction to get to the brass lantern in exchange for his life. He thought I was an honorable man. But you know better, don't you, Benson? You know all about dishonor.
My family came to this country believing the promise it offered. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
I believe the next line about wretched refuse was for you.
My sister died in a barn fire set by my fellow Americans. My sister! What gives you the right to judge me?
Your aim is still off, Benson. Killing you is never going to be hard. But you've just made it that much easier. You chose to follow Adolf Hitler, a man who, out of cowardice, blew his brains out to avoid capture. Well, Benson, let me help you follow your Fuhrer. No!
Dear God.
Elaina? Elaina,
Just shut up and hold me for one damn second.
Elaina, I can explain.
Not now, Matthew. Your mask is off. You don't have to explain anything.
I'm not a good man, Elaina. I just hate them. Nazis, criminals, sadists.
The lights. You blinded everyone with giant lights. You don't have the power, do you?
I can't trust myself.
But I can.
You don't know me.
Then let me.
I will never be able to love you more than I hate them.
But you could love me.
Elaina.
Sabrina was right. Shut up and kiss me.
But...
It wasn't a request.
Matt, Elaina, who's... Max Benson? What happened here?
Time will tell us that, Detective Maldonado. If I allow myself to hope.
You know me, Matthew. I'm all about hope.
The Brass Lantern was created and written by A.G. Devitt, directed and produced by Matt Powers in Lift Theater, with sound by Matt Powers and music by Oscar Stivala. Starring A.G. Devitt as Matt Arnold, Laura Powers as Elaina, Virginia Clapp as Sabrina Masters, Edgar Oliver as Sinjin Dare, Dave Delachase as Max Benson, Blake Pitcher as Councilman Brinkerhoff, Alex Stulcher as Detective Maldonado, Don Shipman as Newsy, C.T. Avis as Nazi, and your announcer.
The Brass Lantern would like to extend special thanks to Jane Mallon and the Mohawk Valley Center for the Arts.
The Brass Lantern encourages you to check out creative works by our cast. C.T. Avis has recently written The Wizard Shield, which can be found on Amazon. Blake Pitcher's new book, Autonomy, can also be found on Amazon. And the comics of Dave Delachase can be found on Amazon at Holidays, Holidaze, on Amazon. Finally, check out the indie video game created in part by Alex Stolzer called Super Tonyland. It can be found on Steam or her website, Robot Loves Kitty. This project is made possible with funds from the Decentralization Program, a re-grant program of the New York State Council on the Arts with the support of Governor Andrew Cuomo and the New York State Legislature, and administered by CNY Arts.